This is Mrs. Wayner's Math Class, Chapter 9, Lesson 3, Graph Data. And before we begin this lesson, let's watch a short water temperature lab. Data from this lab will be used in this lesson.
So today we're doing an experiment on water temperature. And I have in this bowl in front of us a bowl of room temperature water. It's about half full. I have my thermometer in and I see on my Celsius side, because when we do experiments for science, we need to use the metric system. I see on my Celsius side that this water at room temperature is about 22 degrees Celsius. So what I'm going to do now is add 3 ice cubes into the water. 1, 2, and 3. Whoops. And I'm going to set my timer on start, and every 10 seconds we will take the temperature again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It looks like we are down to 20 degrees. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Looks like we are down to 18 degrees. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And it looks like we are down to, looks like about 16, maybe 16 degrees. And 40. Looks like we're down to 15 degrees Celsius. And 50. Looks like we are down to 14 degrees Celsius. And at 60 degrees, it looks like we are at 13 degrees Celsius. Let's go for another 10. Okay, and now it looks like we are at about 12 degrees Celsius, and we're going to stop it right there.
Again, we'll be using that information for this lesson, which is Chapter 9, Lesson 3, Graph Data. The learning target. By the end of today's lesson, you should confidently be able to say, I can use a coordinate grid to display data collected in an experiment. So the experiment that we saw used the following materials: a cup, water, a Celsius thermometer, ice cubes, and a stopwatch. First, I filled the cup more than halfway with room temperature water. Then I placed the thermometer in the water and found the beginning temperature before adding any ice. I recorded that temperature on the table at 0 seconds, and once again, that temperature was 22 degrees Celsius. I don't have to write the degree in Celsius sign, as that is already up here, and it tells me that everything in this column is degrees Celsius. So now I moved on to step C. I placed 3 ice cubes in the water and started my stopwatch. I found the temperature every 10 seconds for up to 60 seconds. Actually, I went up to 80, but we're only going to record up to 60. And I have to record the temperatures on the table. So at 10 seconds, my temperature was 20 degrees. At 20 seconds, my temperature was 18 degrees. At 30 seconds, my temperature was 16 degrees. At 40 seconds, my temperature was 15 degrees. At 50 seconds, my temperature was 14 degrees. And at 60 seconds, my temperature was 13 degrees. If you have not already done so, please make sure that you complete this information on your worksheet as well. So now I move on to answering my questions for the chart that I just completed. Question number 1 says, explain why you would record the beginning temperature at 0 seconds. So if I go back onto my table, at 0 seconds, I recorded my beginning temperature 22 degrees, which was before I added any ice. Why would you do that in an experiment? Why would you record the temperature when you start before you add the ice? What's the purpose of that? What's the reason? Please stop and answer question number 1 right now on your worksheet. Now we move on to question number 2 that says, describe what happens to the temperature of water in the 60 seconds during the experiment. So again, if I go back and look at my table, at the end of the experiment, 60 seconds, what happened to the water as it changed? How did it change? Do you see any pattern with it changing? Was there anything specific about the change? That's what you're going to answer on your worksheet for question number 2. Please pause and answer question number 2 now. And finally, we're going to answer question number 3. We have to draw conclusions. So it says analyze, which is look at, think about your observations of the temperature of water during the entire 60 seconds. And explain what you think would happen to the temperature if the experiment continued for 60 seconds longer. So I stopped my experiment at 60 seconds. What happened if I continued and said 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 seconds? How do you think the temperature of the water would change? How many degrees do you think it would change by each of the additional 10 seconds? Do you think there would be any pattern or any differences? What do you think? And that's what you're going to answer for question number 3. So please stop the video and answer question number 3 right now. Now we move on to the Make Connections section, which is right over up here. It says you can use a coordinate grid to graph data and analyze the data you collected in an experiment. So we have step 1. Write the related pairs of data as ordered pairs. So if I go back to my table, I'm going to write my related pairs as ordered pairs. At 0 seconds, the temperature was 22 degrees. So if I go back here for my ordered pair, they give me the 0, and I know that it was 22 degrees. Now you're going to complete the rest of this. You can look back at your chart, and you're going to complete all of these ordered pairs. Please stop the video and do that right now. Next it says, construct a coordinate grid and write a title for it. Label each axis. Well, I do see that this is the graph paper for my coordinate grid. I do need a title. There isn't one there, so I will need to come up with that. Remember, the title should show what the graph is about. It also told me to label each axis, but I see that my x-axis right here is labeled. It says x-axis, it has the time, and it tells me the unit, which is seconds. I see that my y-axis is labeled right here. It says y-axis, tells me the title, temperature, that's what each of those numbers stands for, and it tells me the unit in degrees Celsius. So the only thing that you need to do is right here up at the top, write the title for your graph right now. Please stop the video and do that now. And step number 3 right here says plot a point for each ordered pair. So you're going to look at your ordered pairs that you filled in here, and you're going to plot the point for them on this graph over here. Remember that your x-axis comes first, and your y-axis comes second. We move to the right and then up. Please stop the video and plot a point for each ordered pair. And finally, we're going to work on our math talk, our mathematical practices. For using graphs, it says, what is the ordered pair that you recorded for the data at 10 seconds? Explain what each coordinate represents. So what's the ordered pair at 10 seconds? What each coordinate represents, which means what does the first number in the ordered pair represent or stand for? What does the second number in the ordered pair represent or stand for? So please make sure that you've answered step 1, step 2, and step 3 on your worksheet. Stop right now and finish it if necessary. So we will check this together in class tomorrow, and we will go over it and make sure your answers are correct before we have you move on with the lesson. Again, all of the information in this basically comes from the video, and that's what you'll be completing on your worksheet. By the time we have finished practicing this lesson, you should confidently be able to say, I can use a coordinate grid to display data collected in an experiment. Good luck with this lesson.